Rally Championship event in 2020. So we'll get the full details on that a little bit later in the day. There's one lady through, Petra Kvitova. She's through to the women's final at the Australian Open. Of course, the Australian Open has been marked by very high temperatures. And the US Open champion Naomi Osaka, the 4th seed, is currently on court. Of course, we'll have the full details on that. And also hopes fading for the football star, the Argentinian football star Salah, who's been missing out at sea, presumed dead. Hopes are fading at the moment. They're claiming that they're turning it into a recovery, but at the moment they're saying even the hopes of finding him are fading just due to the nature of the weather and the conditions off the Welsh coast. So we'll have full details on that. Quite a bit to talk about on NTV Sports a little bit later.
Right, thanks very much. Son Kadavelis will be joining us at 1 with all the latest from the sports desk. And of course, Son, I know that it's now a recovery mission for the footballer who probably lost his life in the plane crash. Anything about that?
Yeah, as I was mentioning, hopes are fading. As of yesterday afternoon, they were saying that there were several different possibilities, and one of them is that the plane could have landed on the water, well, crash landed on the water, and there was a life raft on board. But the hopes are now fading in regards to that, because remember, it is winter in the UK and Northern Europe, and that means that the conditions are treacherous, and even a person with the fitness of Salah, had he landed in the water or gone into the water, the hopes of him spending more than a couple of hours at least in that water would be extremely, him surviving in the water there would be, almost impossible. But anyway, we'll keep you up to date with the latest on that. We do hope, of course, some sort of faint hope that he has managed to survive. With the pilot, don't forget as well, there was a pilot, there were 2 of them on board. But of course, we'll just have to keep you up to date on what's looking like a very, very tragic story. I remember he only just signed last week with Cardiff City for a club record £15 million, and he was unveiled over the weekend. In fact, the last pictures of him in Cardiff colours was on Sunday. And also stories, if you read the press and go on social media, he left a very haunting WhatsApp audio video.
Yes.
You can find that, of course, on social media.
All right. And tragically, I also learned yesterday, Sean, that at the time they were supposed to play with Leicester City, a Leicester manager actually died in a plane crash, a chopper crash, and now he was supposed to sign again and play the other side, and this also happened. Thanks very much, Sean. Will be updating us with all that later on. And this morning we'll be discussing about the Executive Order 1 of 2019. I have guests in studio. I'll be speaking to Gabriel Muduma and Haman Manyora. They'll be putting that to perspective. But first, let's go over to our bureaus and now go to Nyeri, where Melita Oletenges is on standby. Melita, good morning and good to see you. Of course, this is a conversation that has been going on for the last 2 days, but that's the president's backyard. What are they saying about it?
Indeed, good to see you too, Ken Mijungu. We are coming to you from Nyeri County, as you have said. And indeed, the appointment of Fred Matiang'i, who's the Cabinet Secretary Interior, has drawn reaction by proponents from different quarters. And it's no different here in Nyeri. Some of the people are confused as to whether, what does this appointment really mean? And of course, this appointment has also brought back some of the sentiments, people saying that this is in line with succession politics of 2022. So Ken, we are just going to get views of some of the residents here in Nyeri, and I'm going to start with you, sir. Anza na jina lako, tuambie jina lako ni nani, kisha utueleze unahisi kuwa kuteuliwa kwa Fred Matiang'i kuwa kusimamia miradi ya maendeleo nchini kuna kuwaza kwa kiasi fulani majukumu ya naibu wa rais William Ruto na ushawishi wake wa kisiasa?
Sidhani ya kwamba kuna majukumu yoyote yule ati inapunguka kwa ajili ya Matiang'i kupewa kazi na rais. Kwa vile Matiang'i si mwanasiasa, lakini Ruto ni mwanasiasa. Kwa hivyo kama Matiang'i amezidishiwa majukumu na rais, itampea hata nafasi nzuri bwana Deputy President bwana Ruto kufanya kazi yake ya kutafuta, ya kujipanga pole vile ituambia kujipanga pole kwa ajili ya 2022. Kwa hivyo sioni kama kuna majukumu ati amepunguziwa, ni nafasi amepewa ya kujipanga vizuri.
Na waziri huyo amepigiwa debe na wengi sana kuhusu utendakazi wake. Je, wewe binafsi una imani kuwa ataweza kusimamia miradi ya maendeleo inavyostahili?
Matiang'i atasimamia miradi ya maendeleo jinsi inavyostahili. Huyo jamaa kazi yake ameifanya bwana. Huyo ni mfanyikazi kabisa. Akiingia kwa idara yoyote ile unaona imesimama na inadhibitika vilivyo. Huyo mimi hapo namchangia, ni mfanyikazi nambari 1 huyo.
Pengine let's just talk to one more resident here. If you can just start with your name, tuambie jina lako na tuambie unahisi vipi kuteuliwa kwa Fred Matiang'i kuendesha miradi ya maendeleo humu nchini.
Kwa majina naitwa Ashila. Mimi mkazi wa Nyeri. Mimi naona Matiang'i kuchaguliwa kwake, Uhuru alifanya kitu mzuri sana. Kwa sababu sasa ametenganisha utendaji kazi na politics. Ndio ninaona nini ya Matiang'i kuchaguliwa hapo ni kitu tumeona Uhuru amefanya kitu nini sana. Ameangalia watu wa Kenya sana. Ndio kazi itendeke na Matiang'i aendelee na kazi, naye Ruto aende nje atafute kula zake za 2022, naye Matiang'i anafanya kazi.
Kuna wale ambao wanasimama na naibu wa rais William Ruto akisema kuwa wanaona kama huu ni mpangilio wa siasa za mwaka 2022. Pengine wewe kwa maoni yako unaona vipi?
Mimi kwa maoni yangu sioni pale kuchaguliwa kwa Matiang'i kumeingilia mambo ya politics ama mambo ya 2022. Hata ndio vizuri, ndio Jubilee ionyeshe ile kazi ile Matiang'i atafanya ile kazi, ndio wataonyesha, ndio waweze kushinda viti ya 2022 wakionyesha ile kazi anafanya. Kwa sababu sasa hakuna kazi tunaweza sema Jubilee imetufanyia. Lakini sasa Matiang'i akiingia kwa hiyo miradi, tengeneza hiyo miradi, tunaona kabisa Jubilee itatuonyesha ile kazi imefanya hiyo miaka 10 walikuwa ushukani.
Thank you so much. If you can just get your views on the appointment of the Cabinet Secretary Interior, Fred Matiang'i, to head the National Development Implementation Committee. What are your views on that?
Thank you very much to be here to talk about Matiang'i. Appointment of Matiang'i is wonderful. He do a very good job, and he's going to do a lot of work. I would ask the President himself to appoint him more like Matiang'i. Then we see what we are going to do and how we are going to maneuver. In case of development, everything, this man is wonderful. And also I can see all the people used to get money, but they are not getting now. We have got 3 months, we don't get. So Matiang'i is wonderful and he's going to do a job. Thank you.
Do you think in any way the appointment of Matiang'i is going to overshadow the responsibility of the Deputy President in government?
Thank you for that question. Yeah, Matiang'i is not going to interfere at all with the appointment of Ruto. Ruto is through. We are going to give him. He is going to get through during the 22, during the election time, and we are ready for Ruto to get in there.
Yes, those are just some of the sentiments from residents here in Nyeri. Of course, some of them are saying that they have total faith in Fred Matiang'i in the delivery in this particular appointment. But some of them are also saying that there is no connection with this appointment with the 2022 succession, that is the 2022 general election politics. And these are some of the views that we've been able to gather here, Ken, as of now. Back to you.
Melita Oletenges, thank you very much. Melita is from Nyeri County, and the Nyeri County residents are expressing themselves on the appointment or increased responsibilities going to Fred Matiang'i. We'll be talking about Fred Matiang'i with my panel a little bit later on. But first, let's take you to the neighbor, just neighboring the county of Nyeri. That's Murang'a, where Martin Maura is also on standby. Martin, good morning. What are the people of Murang'a saying about the increased responsibility to Fred Matiang'i and obviously the seeming sidelining of Deputy President William Ruto?
Oh, well, good morning, Ken from Murang'a County, counting 021. It's a good morning. Yes, before I take you to the debate that I will be having today, I just want to give you a sneak peek of what is happening in this county. Now, I'm actually right outside Technology Primary School, which is at the heart of the Murang'a town. It's in the CBD. We're expecting a delegation from Zambia, which is being led by the Minister of Education from Zambia, who are on a benchmarking mission. The delegation is being hosted by the Minister of Education, the Cabinet Secretary in charge of Education, that is Amina Mohammed. They are visiting this school because this is one of the best performing public schools in the country. And not only in the country, but even in Murang'a. It's actually emerged the top school, public school, and it had the best student. It had the best student, the top best student in the county. Mind you, it has meager resources, but it is utilizing what it has to give good performance. Now, their mission is just to benchmark on how public schools can perform with donation from goodwill from the donors. The main mission here is just because the Danish government has been donating textbooks and other learning materials to this school. And it seems like Danish government wants to give the same to the Zambian government. Now the Zambian government has decided to come and benchmark to see how the donation from the Danish government is uplifting education. And that's why they have chosen this school, which is the best among the best performing schools, not only in the country, but in Murang'a. Now, something else, Ken, that I want to bring to your attention is we have a case of an officer who shot a resident in Kandara 3 times. But it said that he shot him after they disagreed after a football match. We are not sure if it's about the betting or the results of the match, but it is said that he was shot fatally, and he's in critical condition, and he's at the hospital recuperating. The OCPD from Kandar has confirmed and saying that from the initial investigation, it shows that the officer was not justified to shoot the person. But those are just some of the stories that we'll be keeping tabs with and will bring a subsequent bulletin. Ken will be joining you later in a few minutes, where I'll be talking to residents about our debate. Back to you, Ken.
Right, Martin Moura, thank you very much for that update and for the activities that are taking place in Murang'a County. And just there I've seen Bernard getting ready to join us. Bernard is in Migori County. We'll be speaking to him in a short while to tell us what's happening and the opinion of the people from County 044. That's Migori County. But basically, that's what we'll be discussing this morning with Gabriel Muduma, who's joining us shortly. Of course, Haman Manyora, to speak about several issues, among them the appointment of Dr. Fred Matiang'i of the increased responsibilities. We also tried to talk about that lunch yesterday and the fact that it was not in the agendas that were discussed. But first, let's go to the county of Migori. That's where we find Bernard Juang. Bernard, good morning. And obviously, the opinions there must be divided. But tell us what they're saying about the increased responsibilities to Fred Matiang'i, and what people are now saying that the DP is being sidelined.
Well, thank you very much, Ken. We are here in Rongo Town, Migori County, just as you have said. Remember, it is a debate that many people now currently, people everywhere are talking about. You see newspapers, all mainstream media are talking about this. And remember, yesterday you had some from different counties saying that some were criticizing the move that was made by President Uhuru Kenyatta, as some were really supporting it, saying that President Uhuru Kenyatta has a right to do that, to ensure that he achieve his Big Four agenda. And remember, many people here, they have a different opinion, and we'll be talking to some of them, Kenyans here in Rongo, just to tell us what do they think about the move that was made by President Uhuru Kenyatta. Join me here, Mzee. President Uhuru Kenyatta delegated some duties to Matiang'i. What do you think? What does this mean to you?
Well, I'm Ken. To me, I don't see anything political in that thing. In fact, the president is just trying to reorganize his government. I don't see anything political in that appointment. Yeah. If anything, this is not the first time. Earlier on, I mean some months before, the president appointed some principal secretaries. That one is there in the constitution. So to me, I don't see anything political in that thing. In fact, I would go ahead and wish Matiang'i well in his new role, and maybe some congratulations.
Some leaders were saying that the move that was made by President Uhuru Kenyatta is one way of undermining his deputy William Ruto, and they were saying it is not the right move.
No, that's a lie. He's not trying to undermine the DP. The DP is still the principal assistant to the president. He is still number 2. Yeah, he's still number 2. Let us separate these two things. I don't think he's trying to undermine the DP. No. Yeah.
Do you think this has something to do with the 2022 politics?
Well, if you analyze it well, it's something to do with the 2022 politics. He's trying to reorganize himself for succession. Yeah, it's a question of succession politics. Yes, yes.
Well, thank you very much. I'll speak to another person here. Join me here. What do you think about the move that President Uhuru Kenyatta, the move by appointing, delegating some duties to Matiang'i?
Yeah, in fact, it is very good, but something having advantage must have disadvantage. You know, President is having power to change the executive, but also root also is a bridge. Deputy root is also a bridge. Yeah, because you know you cannot build a house without a wife. So that one also is maybe something having disadvantage must have disadvantage.
Do you think it has something to do with the 22 politics?
Yeah, probably, but yes, exactly. That's the thing they want. Yeah, because they just want to undermine that guy so that they get more power from this man. Yeah.
Well, I thank you very much. I'll speak to another person here. Joining me here. It is something that many people are talking about all over Kenya. What do you think about this?
Good morning. My name is Ochieng Kangoje. I don't think there's any problem with the president signing an executive order of 2019. Actually, the president was just trying to make his house in order. The president wanted all government projects to be, first of all, assessed, known their target before they are launched. And then he's saying, if you look at that, the roles that he has given Matiang'i and the committee, he's saying that the reports are taken to him. And actually the president and the deputy president are one thing. Who knows, maybe after the reports are taken to him is when he will delegate to the deputy president, go launch this project, go launch this project. Who knows? I don't think there is any cause for alarm. Matiang'i was just given a role because he has proved to be a Mr. Fixer. This guy is the guy who took us to digital migration. After digital migration, he brought us, is even the guy behind the Michuki rules that have come back today. This is the same guy that has carved out the cheating in high schools that was, in the past was a problem. I don't think there's a problem if the president sees Matiang'i as Mr. Fix-It, and maybe because he's in his second term of legacy, building bridges, he wants a cohesive government, and he thinks Matiang'i is the right man to do that. I don't think there's a problem.
Do you think he's connected to 2020 politics?
The president is a gentleman, like most people say. And his interest right now is the interest of this country and the peace, the development. When 2022 comes, who knows? It's a big game. You never know. He might end up endorsing his deputy, or it will be a game plan altogether. But one thing I'm sure of that I'm seeing, that this has nothing to do with 2022.
Well, thank you very much. I'll speak to another person here. Join me. Utatoa kofia kidogo. Utatoa kofia kidogo. Kofia. You'll start with your name and tell us. It is something that many people are talking about currently. What do you think about the issue of President Uhuru Kenyatta delegating some role to Matiang'i?
Okay, first and foremost, my name is John Odero. What I know, Mr. President is just trying to fulfill the four agendas. Is what I can say, because the president with the four agendas is about to leave to go home, but for now you have to push the four agendas so that all Kenyans can fulfill all that's what he told us. That's what I can say. Yeah.
Do you think some leaders are saying that by delegating those roles to Matiang'i is one way of undermining his deputy William Ruto?
No. What I can say, for the last election, we were in tough conditions. So all this has just come through handshake. But what I can tell you, the president wants to make sure the four agendas are fully fulfilled to all the Kenyans and how he promised before he go home.
Do you think Matiang'i will make it?
Matiang'i? Of course, yes, because he have done a lot in Kenya. By the time he was in the Minister for Education, he done so many things. After all, for now he's in the midst of internal security. He has done so many things. That's why our President Uhuru Kenyatta has done all this to Mr. Matiang'i, so that he can see a person who can help him on the four agendas. Yes.
Well, thank you very much. I'll speak to the last person. Join me here. What do you think about these, the roles? Do you think Matiang'i will make it?
Actually, Matiang'i will make it because
when he was in the Ministry of Education, he did a lot. So actually, he reformed the system as a Minister of Internal Security. Yeah.
So do you think it has something to do with 2020 politics?
Right, an apology there. Bernardo Juang is having a technical difficulty, but we'll try and speak to him as soon as we can and get the views of the people from County 044. But let's come back to studio and tell you more about what we are discussing this morning. And we begin with asking the question, what's in an executive order, or what's an executive order? Simply put, it is an administrative tool available to the president in the execution of his duties. In essence, a directive issued by the president to an executive branch of the government. Now, while you may not find a specific reference to an executive order in the Constitution or in an act of Parliament, it does exist in the usage and customs of the government. And while it's binding, there are limits to its application. An executive order, for instance, can apply to matters that would require public participation or that would interfere with the functions of any independent office. Now, with respect to the Executive Order number 1 of 2019 on the framework for the coordination and implementation of national government development programs and the projects by the government, that is anchored in Article 132(3)(b), which provides that the president shall direct and coordinate the functions of all ministries and government departments. Article 132(4)(a) also empowers the president to establish office in consultation with the Public Service Commission. Now that explains it. All right. Now, a high-profile lunch, an aborted press conference, and silence from the Deputy President's office on the second day, that was yesterday, after the announcement that the Ministry of Interior and Coordination of National Government will take over the roles that traditionally are believed to be the preserve or the DP's office. But then the simmering tension was evident even in the body language, as you can see right there, between President Kenyatta and his Deputy William Ruto. But what has been the role of the DP all along? Let's take a look. The announcement through the Executive Order 1 of 2019 was received with mixed reactions, but the consensus remains that the powers and responsibilities of the Deputy President have been drastically reduced, notwithstanding the provisions of Article 132(3)(c) of the Constitution that allows the President to assign responsibility for the implementation and administration of any act of Parliament to a Cabinet Secretary. To the extent that is not inconsistent with any act of Parliament, the move is translated as reducing the inherent powers of his deputy. But the Constitution also sets out the powers and responsibilities of the Deputy President at Article 147, which makes him or her the principal assistant to the President in the execution of the President's functions, perform functions conferred in the Constitution, including any other assigned by the President, and act as President when the President is unable to perform his duties.
Mulisikia kuna mwingine pale Kasarani ambaye aliapishwa kwamba atasaidia Uhuru Kenyatta.
Until the current constitution came into effect, the position of the Vice President, unlike that of the Deputy President, was shrouded in a lot of mystery, with no real definition of the roles and responsibilities. In fact, the Vice Presidents were often appointed cabinet ministers in order to give them some kind of responsibilities.
Katiba inasema Deputy President ndio mtu ya mkono ya rais.
The inclusion of the roles and responsibilities of the Deputy President in the Constitution was deliberate, but still he looks upon the President for responsibility and roles assignment.
Hii kijana anaitwa Ruto, unajua kila weekend anatanga kila pahali. Atakuwa anapitia hizi machorochoro. Akiona kuna kitu inaenda kona mumwambie. Si namna hiyo? Si namna hiyo? Tuhakikishe kazi ya wananchi imefanyika.
Lakini Mheshimiwa Rais, kwa ile ruhusa umenipatia na amri umenipatia ambayo ulisema juzi, yenye mimi nafanya kila weekend huko mashinani, vitongojini, vijijini, hata na huko kwenye vichochoro, nataka nikupatie report.
This is why there was anticipation that there would be some kind of response to the president's decision to exercise his constitutional role and mandate to assign responsibilities to Fred Matiang'i, effectively taking the roles that have been played by Deputy President Ruto. But there was silence from the DP's office. A press conference that was expected to address the happenings was cancelled last minute. Though the DP flew to the coast and had lunch with the president, the details of that closed-door meeting remains unclear. History shows us that this will not be the first time such an act led to the exit of the vice president. In 1964, a deal between the founding father Jomo Kenyatta and then United States Ambassador to Kenya William Atwood led to the downgrading of Jaramogi Odinga's office by taking away key responsibilities from his portfolio. Odinga had no option but to exit the stage. Ken Mijungu, NTV. Now, for Dr. Fred Okengo Matiang'i, it has been a steady climb to the top. 5 years after he was first plucked from the lecture halls to become the Information, Communication and Technology Cabinet Secretary, Matiang'i, currently the Cabinet Secretary, Interior and Coordination of National Government, assumes more responsibilities, making him one of the most powerful individuals in President Uhuru Kenyatta's administration, as Leila Mohammed now reports.
Dr. Fred Matiang'i first joined cabinet in early 2013 following the electoral victory of Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto.
Freedom of the press is a way of life for us. We're not going to go back on that.
His first posting, CS Information, and few months into his administration, Matiang'i was felt when he spearheaded the country's switch from analog broadcasting to digital, a move that saw him rub shoulders with media owners and managers. This was the first time Kenyans would experience a media blackout. Matiang'i has managed to carve a niche as a reliable CS, one whom the president would pick on to manage other dockets when their holders were not available. His first acting capacity came in 2015 when he took over the land's docket following the stepping aside of Charity Ngilu, who at the time was facing corruption charges.
We are giving you an institutionalized responsibility over exams.
Was then moved to the education docket, taking over from Professor Jacob Kaimenyi, and it is here where his full weight was felt. Matiang'i made radical changes in the education sector and relentlessly fought examination cheating. He has asserted himself yet again in the interior docket. And one of his memorable acts is when he switched off 3 television stations following the swearing-in of Raila Odinga as president. He has also been accused of disobeying court orders and snubbing summons by parliamentary watchdog committees. Matiang'i now serves as the Chief Cabinet Secretary in charge of implementation of President Uhuru Kenyatta's Big Four agenda, making him one of the most powerful individuals in the country at the moment. He is President Uhuru Kenyatta's right-hand man in the cabinet. In his presidency, President Jomo Kenyatta was a hands-on man. Many in his cabinet feared him, but even then, ministers like Mbiu Koinange had his ear and made far-reaching decisions with his approval. In the Moi era, the country's #1 man then ensured that he made all the decisions, but with powerful appointmen like Nicholas Biwott and Simeon Nuchai, his chief secretary in the civil service, Moi could delegate some of the duties. Chris Murungaru and John Mishuki also made their mark as key figures of the Kibaki administration. The former DC in the colonial government made his mark in various ministries, but the man credited with the title of Mr. Fix-It in the Mwai Kibaki administration is believed to have been the head of public service and secretary to the cabinet, Francis Muthaura. Leila Mohammed, NTV.
Right, a good place to begin our discussion this morning, and I'm joined in studio by Gabriel Muduma and Haman Manyora, both political commentators. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming. You on your phone? Yeah. On your phone? Can I give him time to respond to that email, you know?
Good morning to you.
Good morning to you. Yeah? Very interesting. And you know what's interesting also?
Right.
That if the president and the deputy president meets, it's news now.
Exactly.
How?
Why should it be, by the way?
That's what I'm wondering. I'm asking you. Why is it that now when the president and the deputy president meets, it's news? Let's begin with Haman.
You see, news is a contextual thing. You can do one thing 200 times and it's not news. But in a certain context, maybe the context of time, context of politics, then it becomes news. You should be the one teaching me this because you are
No. But you should be telling me why it's so important. Yesterday they just had lunch.
It is in the context of what is going on in this country,
okay,
especially beginning with Murade's pronouncement on the 26th of December in Vihiga, followed shortly after by Tuju's also pronouncement. Okay? And therefore, it becomes news because the country seems to be thinking there is some cold relationship between the president and his deputy. So when they see them together having lunch, then it becomes news.
It becomes news. Gabriel, why?
No, we are making it news because let's not forget the deputy president, as a matter of fact, and this is the law that we all know, is that he is the principal secretary to the president. All right? So
principal assistant.
Principal assistant, not
yes,
secretary. Sorry, principal assistant to the president. So that just gives you the narrative, and actually it founds, the truth that they work hand in hand. So I think we are reading too much. I think we are politicizing the issue of the presidency to actually an area now where we are saying these people are not even, heading in the same direction. But they seem to be talking from the same script. I mean, when the deputy president says, this is the way we are heading in terms of the Big Four agenda, this is what we want to accomplish, this is what we have done, the president talks the same language as well. I think where it gets dicey is when the handshake comes in. And it's bound to, because, this is an arena where Prof would tell you, and if you've listened to some of his videos, he'll tell you many people did not know what that handshake is.
Take it or leave it.
Yeah, many people did not know what that handshake is. But truth of the matter is that handshake has created a very conducive environment for the president and his deputy to be able to do the kind of development that they are able to do.
Okay.
Some time back, we saw the two of them, the president and the deputy president and Honorable Raila Odinga, they were all in Kisumu. This is an area that was quite hostile some years back. Now development is coming to those areas. So I think it is a very good thing, one, when you talk about that handshake, and two, it is not a good thing when we read too much on the fact that, we are trying to pigeonhole as if these two people, that is the president and his deputy, that they are not seeing eye to eye. Up until we hear something different, or I hear something different.
When you say we are trying, who are we trying?
We as Kenyans. We as Kenyans. And they follow the cue from what you people write, from what we read. Yeah.
Just after the pronouncements by David Murade, I sat here. I don't know if you were in that session that we sat and spoke about this. And one of the sentiments that was expressed across the table was that it was time for the president to come out and quell the noises that were surrounding the pronouncement of Murade. It's not happened. Then straight after that, barely 2 weeks, I think, this thing happens, Executive Order 1 of 2019. And you want to say that we are
but Ken,
taking it out of context?
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
It's not an issue about taking it out of context. And Prof, if I'm wrong, probably you can correct me on this one.
Yes.
What is so wrong with the executive order? Because me reading it, it just emphasizes on the mandates of the Interior Ministry, or the Ministry of Interior and National Coordination. The issue to do with national development. This is actually a domicile act inside that ministry. So it is just a re-emphasizing of the duty. The other thing which I think is foreign is the NTSA moving into the Interior Ministry. That's the only thing, that's the only cue I take. Other than that, all matters development, what the president has done is that he has just set a committee where the chairman is Matiang'i and the members are all these other cabinet secretaries. And what the president is trying to say is, this is how we are going to work as matters, development is concerned, and the reporting mechanisms.
Okay.
So here you're putting up a committee that is going to aid. And by the way, it is not only, if you see how it is steered, in matters reporting, it goes all the way to the county commanders. And it even gives and settles duties for county commanders. It is not an issue, Prof, where it was, it's county commanders calling, the bosses and saying, we have an issue here. they've been given the mandate to also offer solutions.
Okay, and I'm glad, because if you look at that press conference, they talked about even the cooperation with the media, how they should be forthcoming with information to the media and all. That's not traditionally what was practiced. In fact, you'll find this something that has happened, but even the people to hold press conferences were very few. But let me get out of that. I want you to also to put this in context. I don't understand what Muduma is telling me, so perhaps help me understand. Help me understand, because there are two issues to this. Yes. One, Matiang'i is a performer. Right, he's a performer, it's undisputed. And then secondly, the fact that the deputy president is the one who's been going around implementing these projects, talking about these projects. And there is also a record that the president says the work of the deputy is to go around the country, right? That's why we call him Team Tangatanga. Go around the country and give him this information, then he'll get me that information, right? And then he even said, President, the assignment you gave me, he's always cut that image of the person who is doing this responsibility. So, and then suddenly, this responsibility through an executive order are given to Matiang'i and made on paper. I'm sure we had the PDF copy that was not signed, but they're signed somewhere.
I think the president seems to be remembering that we have a new constitution, a lot more than we do.
Okay.
In this new constitution, as clearly stated in 2013, when they took power, they said there will only be 2 politicians in cabinet. Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta and William Samoei Ruto.
I had forgotten about that.
The rest will be technocrats.
Yes.
I think Kenyans have forgotten. So the work which Matiang'i is being given, if you are to base yourself on a plain reading, is a job that's supposed to be done by technocrats. True. So the 22 or so technocrats naturally would have one to chair. And that chairing is given to technocrat Matiang'i. If you are to look for the reason, it will be because definitely it's the most visible. If you are to consider performance in a manner Kenyans do, which is different from the way I do, then he's the most performing, because in my understanding there's no performance to talk about. But let's grant there is. He's the most performing minister. So he'll be given that. And there's nothing like Gabriel says, there's nothing else to read into it. It's just technocrats are supposed to steer development. Ruto and Uhuru are supposed to be politicians playing politics. So even if you go to Kapsabet as Uhuru and you feel it's time to play politics with the cattle dip there and launch it, that's okay.
It's okay.
But Matiang'i will be leading the people to ensure that cattle dip is actually
working
in the right place,
Yes.
it is working, and everything is going well.
Okay, okay. But let me pose this to you.
Yes.
This effectively, we have branded him, called him the chief minister, the prime minister and all. Don't you think this role gives Matiang'i an opportunity to play politics?
It certainly would. You can't enjoy those kind of powers without entering into politics, because then you are going to be dealing with politicians and technocrats at the same time. Reporting to the president is in itself a political game. So you see, if you are a good technocrat, you know what to tell your boss. If you are the director of intelligence, you don't just wake up in the morning and tell the president things are bad. You find a way of telling him. So that is already politics. So, of course, he'll be more of a politician than any other technocrat because of that position. But again, we can move away from the plain reading and give it the political reading. And you would see certainly there is something here.
Okay.
There's something in this kind of cup of tea.
Okay.
It's not just tea.
Okay.
Yeah,
There's
something
something
in
more.
that cup.
Gabriel.
No, and only I'll add to what Prof has said. Would it actually make him more political, given there's the chairman and probably added responsibilities? Probably yes. And I'll say this: I mean, we've seen technocrats who have actually, in one way or the other, left those positions. Waiguru is a good example, and she had a very big political clout that actually gave her the rising to become the governor of Kirinyaga.
Even at one point, we labeled Waiguru the super minister.
You remember? Yeah. Yes. So it will again depend on whether CS Matiang'i wants to craft a political future out of this. But if he was to do it, honestly, I think the cards, exactly. I think the cards will be, and the ducks will have actually be, his ducks will be in a row for him to pick a position, be it a governor or wherever. He would actually, he would create a good political mileage out of this position.
So you're thinking, okay.
The only problem will be,
yes,
is he not a pawn? He could be a pawn.
Exactly. That was my. Has it been set up?
You could just be a pawn.
Yes.
In the Raila Uhuru Ruto game of politics. So you are just being used the way a pawn is used on the board. So again, we could be reading too much into this, but knowing politics to be what it is, and knowing Kenya's politics the way it moves, it is unlikely to be just another appointment, just another added set of responsibilities. It must have something to do with
something more.
And that is why, Ken, some people from some part of this country are not very comfortable.
I'll talk about that. Let me go back to what you're just saying about it might be something to deal with 2022. Yeah. I'm looking at it even earlier. I'm looking at it at 2021, even 2020, although 2020 is a little tricky. Right. And this is a referendum. Yes. Don't you think it's a litmus test to the position of Prime Minister?
But you cannot write it out. And you know, if we are to be very political, it could. Because, like Prof is saying, it could be a chessboard. You know, you're trying which arithmetics work.
Will it work?
I mean,
yes.
The issue of Prime Minister and 2 deputies, this is something that has been sung by so many leaders, by so many people who are saying, you know, probably this is the environment, the kind of environment that we need for the country to be peaceful or to continue being peaceful. But then again, you know, that will bring the dynamics of are we going to rearrange our constitution just to create positions? Is that it? Is the referendum just coming in to create positions, or are we going to tackle many other issues that we feel, not actually we feel, that are actually affecting Wanjiku? So if we are going to push the issue of prime ministers and positions, I don't think it will be that popular.
In whose eyes, Gabriel? In whose eyes?
In Wanjiku's eyes. The other day, and in fact, it was in this broadcast, when your reporters went out and they were asking people about the referendum. You remember what Wanjiku was concerned about? They were concerned about the high costs of living.
Are you forgetting how politicians panel beat Wanjiku?
Yeah, but
are you forgetting
but I'm
that?
just saying that was the issue then. And I was saying we are paying so much. Even the president, you know, spoke himself to to those facts, and he said, you know, we are spending so much money on recurrent expenditure. Moses Kuria has actually read the very same thing. So you're talking on one end reducing these positions, and at the same time creating other leadership. It could be that.
Gabriel is going far. Why are you talking about a referendum? This, if you talk about a litmus test, is for the position of Prime Minister. In my thinking, is not that far. It is today and tomorrow. It is testing the waters. More of testing the waters than a litmus test for the creation of that position in the new constitutional dispensation, if we amend our constitution through a referendum.
Okay.
But I think, and actually, you talk about my videos. There's one in the cooking right now. Yes. in the next hour or two. And my thinking is this: I could be wrong, but I doubt that I'm wrong. These positions these powers are being created for somebody else.
Yeah.
So create and give these powers to Matiang'i, and then at the right time,
transfer them
with a stroke of a pen. You bring Raila into government. He comes in with about 6-7 ministers, and he's given those powers that Matiang'i has with more. And you have sealed the deal of the handshake, and you wait for the referendum and the 2022. We are
You know why?
Yeah.
If we're talking about a litmus test, no one is going to reject Matiang'i as a super minister, or as a prime minister, or as the top minister, right?
Yes.
And he's going to get into practice, and we are going to get used to the practice.
Yes.
What is so distant, Gabriel, from what Prof is saying?
No, you see.
What is so distant?
My belief,
yes,
it could actually be, but my belief is this: the roles that have been given to this committee are more on the planning side and the advisory side, because you have seen they've been given another channel where you come up with this, you dig as much. This is our development agenda, where issues arise, report directly to the president. Like any other place, where Prof started, I actually support where he started. He said, even if, Ken, we are in a group of 30 now, we must choose one of us, because we cannot speak all of us at the same time. We must choose one of us who will actually be, you know, compiling, profiling, and, presenting.
Reporting, yeah.
You can use reporting or presenting those facts to leadership. And I believe that's what has happened. Remember, when you're talking about development, it is a very integral part of the Interior Ministry. And to me, that's why I feel that particular charge has been put onto CS Matiang'i. So it will be very, it will actually be diluting the idea behind why Matiang'i has been put there if we go political. Now, I am not discounting that could be it in matters testing or, you know, working a litmus test, whatever you call it. I'm not discounting that. That's how politicians work. They say, you know what, let's test the waters. Let's put Prof. Let's throw in Prof there. Let's tell Prof from today onwards. You are the minister's due for what. And we know very well, we just want to, you know, politicians have been known to do that. So could that be it? Maybe, but I don't think at this point that could be it. Because listen, 3 years Jubilee has to prove to Kenyans why
it's
they
already
came in.
3 years.
Exactly.
Okay.
3 years they have left, where they have to show where the Big Four, whether the Big Four has worked or not. You can already see the teething problems. So it is very quick how the president did the turnaround and to set up these reporting mechanisms.
See, Gabriel, my friend.
No. I'm just telling you.
I've been teaching you politics.
No, it's not about politics. It's not about politics. This is what I feel, because the scorecard will come out eventually. All right? You promised us the Big Four agenda. The scorecard will come out. So I can see the haste in the presidency that, hey, probably we are lagging behind. You saw the issues in health. You've seen the issues in housing, you know, the things that are emanating. So I think if I was the president, I would have done the same. Rearrange and see whether this one will work better. What we are doing and what Prof is trying to do, and you and Prof, you're trying to inject as much politics in this new assignment.
This guy, as you comment, he's talking, this is how things ought to be, or the reality. You know, I'm just wondering.
Ken Gabriel wants to convince Kenyans that politicians, the ones we have and others we have had and others we are most likely to have, are in politics for our good. And they will want to develop this country. There is anything called Big Four. There is nothing like that. This is just politics about 2022.
The Big Four is politics.
President.
Are you saying the Big Four is
which Big Four? There's no Big Four.
What do you mean there's no Big Four?
Which Big Four?
What do you mean there's no Big Four?
Already.
Which?
Already we are talking about.
Let's just isolate one.
Which one?
This is not the discussion.
So
let's just isolate one.
He's misleading us now.
If you want universal health care,
yes,
you know Kenyans are suffering. If you ever go into the countryside, I lost my father last year. Just before losing him, I walked with him from hospital to hospital. Even getting a bed is a problem. If you know how Kenyans are suffering and selling property, including land, to take people to hospital, then you will agree with the president. We need to concentrate on universal health care.
Right.
But look at what is happening. What is government doing? You start maternity, you give many hundreds of millions, and yet it's not effective. You take billions of shillings and put into NHIF for people to eat. And it has been proved to even a child in this country that money is there for eating.
Prof,
yes.
Now,
Let me finish.
Let him finish, yes.
I can state daytime like this on TV that NHIF is a fraud. Only a fool would believe in NHIF. So what would you do? If I was the president and I wanted universal health care, we inherited serious infrastructure for health. Provincial hospitals, district hospitals, sub-district hospitals, health centers almost in every location in this country, right, Gabriel?
Yes.
And so on up to dispensaries. If you are serious about universal health care, you'll get the billions, over 100 billion we put into NHIF and into counties, and put in these facilities. Yes. And every Kenyan will walk in, get treated and say, hallelujah, this is a good government. So anything these people do, whether Big Four, Big 10, health, housing. It's about money.
Okay.
It's an opportunity for people to eat money.
Gabriel, I'm coming to you because I know you have a big response on this, but I'm told Oko Kusa is on standby right now to speak to us and to speak to the people of Kisumu about this same topic. Oko, good morning and good to see you from Kisumu. Talk to us about what the residents of Kisumu are saying, especially on the appointment of Fred Matiang'i and where this is headed.
Well, Ken, it's an exciting development even here on the streets of Kisumu, as of course you know that this is one of the areas that follow the politics of this country very keenly. Remember the Prime Minister, who is also the former Prime Minister, that is, and that is the opposition leader Raila Odinga, traces his roots and actually considers this as his bedrock, political bedrock. And of course, therefore, the developments on the political scene here in the country right now are being followed very keenly down here in Kisumu town. And there is a lot of opinions coming in regarding this Executive Order 1 of 2019, which appears to expand the powers of Matiang'i, as it's also perceived to be sort of undermining the roles of the Deputy President, William Ruto, who has also shown interest in 2022 political contest. Right here, I'm joined with a section of Kisumu residents who are going to share with us what they feel about this particular development. Let's start with this gentleman here. Just start by introducing yourself, sir.
I'm called Otsi Numundi Makamu. I'm the director of Building Bridges in Western Kenya region. We are very happy with what the president did yesterday, because now Matiang'i will do the work of technocrat and administrator. Because we don't want a politician to implement the projects of national government. We need a politician to relax and give technocrats and cabinet ministers to do their work. We are telling the president what he did yesterday, give us a room and a space for presidential candidates 2022 to settle themselves without using the public's money.
So let me ask you, I mean, what does it mean to the future, political future of Deputy President William Ruto?
No, the Deputy President, the future is not bad. What the president is doing, instead of using the resources of the national government and the revenue, let the deputy president use his own money if he wants to campaign, instead of making use of the project of the government on his behalf. That one is called selfishness. That is why I'm just talking about egocentric of nepotism, of ethnicity of Kokul. He should be just relaxed, and even the president should implement his 4 agendas through administration, because the cabinet, they are the administrators, they are the technocrats. And somebody like Matiang'i, if you give him something to do, he will do it perfectly, because he understands what he's doing. And we want those delegation projects to be given to Matiang'i the way Uhuru did it, and we will support as Kenyans. Then 2022, the ground will be open for the people's president and William Somayi Ruto to go on the debate. Because if we move opening project like that, that is undermining the handshake between the people's president and the president, because he's moving helter-skelter.
How is it undermining the handshake?
No, but he's taking the money from county government. We need peace. He's campaigning, going to Western Kenya, opening just a road. A road should be for the governor, not for the deputy president, or the cabinet ministers and county administrators, or county commissioners, the way Uhuru did it. Now I'm understanding, Uhuru is understanding what is called devolution, and the constitution is very clear on his head, because he's now with the people's president, Amolo Nyalego.
Okay. So as far as just last one, as far as you're concerned, whatever move that happened, you think it's a positive move towards enhancing development in the country?
Very good, because now the technocrats will take charge on the project instead of politicians. Because if Ruto move like that, people are just talking about 2022. But when Matiang'i is there implementing it, it will be fully implemented, and Kenya, Uhuru will implement his agenda for fully vile natakana.
Okay.
May God bless.
Okay, thanks, sir. Thank you, sir. Okay, another gentleman here. Just start by introducing yourself, sir.
Yeah, my name is Salim Odeng. I am a resident of Kisumu, though I'm born and raised in Siaya.
Okay, you are following this conversation about the latest development where President Uhuru Kenyatta sort of expanded Cabinet Secretary Matiang'i's powers, and sort of as far as you're concerned, undermined the Deputy President William Ruto, who we all understand has been sort of performing these particular duties.
There would be 2 sets of responses to this. One is about constitutionalism and the legality of the entire process of the executive order. the other bit would be political. Addressing it legally or constitutionally, there is absolutely nothing wrong on what the president did. Article 132(3) of the Constitution actually gives the president authority and power to restructure the government in a manner that respects the order of the Constitution. If you look at the Constitution itself, it doesn't assign the deputy president any role, any clear role. It says in Article 147(1) that the deputy president shall be a principal assistant of the president. And then in Clause 2, it says that the president may assign the deputy president role. The same president may assign in a cabinet secretary role. So if the president reorganizes in his own wisdom the cabinet in a manner that Matiang'i now takes charge of the entire cabinet, there is nothing constitutionally wrong with that. However, politically speaking, I see some danger or ramification with regards to the deputy president. Because deputy president, apparently it appears that the president has been assigning him roles of moving across the country, launching the projects, and speaking on behalf of the government, coordinating the activities of the government, and coordinating the ministries. Now that role goes to Matiang'i, then he lacks that platform to engage politically based on his political ambition for 2022. That's what tends his political ambition.
Do you think that the president was doing this in good faith, or he's sort of trying to cut Ruto's horns?
I think President was clear right from the word go when they had a handshake with the People's President Raila Amolo Odinga. He was very clear that he wants to tone down on political rhetorics and then get back to work, so that he implements the agenda for which he was sworn into office. So then Ruto has never heeded that call. All through, at one point the president said that let's not launch any new projects. Let's continue the projects that we have, and then let's address the people, or the needs of the people of Kenya instead of doing this politics. Ruto has been onto it all through. So I wouldn't want to speak for the president, but in a way, I think he's addressing that. It's like you are not implementing what I've said, and therefore let me give this to Matiang'i so that I set you free. If you want to do politics, you can do politics, and then let Matiang'i coordinate and supervise.
So I'm trying to suggest that the president is sort of trying to tell Ruto that I don't really have faith with you as far as matters administrative are concerned.
It's not actually a question of faith, but it's a question of this is a principal assistant of the president, and then the president is moving across the country, uniting the country, and implementing the projects that he has as an agenda or the agenda 4, plus another thing that he said in his manifesto. And here is his assistant, principal assistant, moving across the country, setting a new agenda of 2022. Then the president, the only honorable thing that the president can do is to set him free, so that let me appoint another person, which is allowed in law to do that, so that I set you free and you move around the country doing your 22 agenda.
But do you think that is sort of a double speak on the part of the president, in the sense that he's trying to make people tone down on 2022 politics, and at the same time, as you're suggesting, he's setting Ruto free to go on with campaigning for 2022?
I mean, I have to, because as it is right now, constitutionally, president cannot fire Ruto. He can't fire Ruto. So if I can't fire you and I've told you that, come on, we are together in this, we have to implement our agenda to the people of Kenya. That's the mandate that we have. And Ruto is not listening. At one point he said that President alisema tutaki siasa this time round, and I'm going to tone down. The next time he goes to Western or he goes to Coast, then agenda changes. So President maybe would say that this is now too much. So what do I do? Let me set you free so that you implement your agenda.
Do you see Raila's hand in this?
Definitely Raila has no hand in this. I think there's this tendency in Kenya where we have to see Raila's hand in everything. But in this one, I think Uhuru had made himself very committed in terms of implementing his own agenda. And the only commitment that they have with Raila, which I would see into it, is to ensure that there is cohesion in this country. There is togetherness in this country. And then we move forward in terms, we forge ahead in terms of the fight against corruption. So that's what I would bring Raila into. But in terms of reorganization of the cabinet, I don't see Raila's hand into that, because Raila doesn't have a mandate in the reorganization of Uhuru's cabinet. Yeah.
But of course, we all know that Raila's closeness with Uhuru has been costing a lot of judiciary in Ruto's camp. And probably this could be one of the outcomes of that relationship between Raila and Uhuru.
I think it is Ruto's preoccupation with 2022 that makes him grasp for every grass that he gets. I think he has a fear of unknown. He just fears that if Raila is around Uhuru, then perhaps his ambition and vision for 2023 is already scattered. And I find that fear unfounded. If he would want to link it to Raila, I find it completely unfounded. 2022 is still far away. There would be a lot of political realignments in this country, as we know. So we cannot predict with certainty what will happen in 2022. So that is Ruto's own fear and uncertainty. That
keeping this to politics, don't you think that maybe the president could be using politics or not really politics, governance to settle political issues.
With who now?
With the Ruto.
Okay, I think Ruto jumped ahead before these things were settled in terms of even 2022. Because look, take it for example, it is Ruto who produced himself as a hustler, a candidate, presidential candidate, and then he branded the other guys that they are dynasty. That is Raila Odinga, the Gideon Moi, and the Uhuru Kenyatta, that's the dynasty. But then he got it wrong because William Samoei Ruto has never voted outside dynasty since 1992. He voted for Moi, that was dynasty. 97, he voted for Moi, that was dynasty. 2002, when the entire country knew that Kibaki was going to win, and Kibaki was a hustler, he voted for Uhuru, who is a dynasty. 2007, there were hustlers, he voted for Raila, who is a dynasty. And then in 2013, he voted for Uhuru, who is a dynasty. 2017, he voted for Uhuru, dynasty. So he has never voted for hustlers. We've had so many hustlers. Ekuru Aukot, Mwalimu Dida, and the rest. He has never voted for them. So William Ruto has voted for dynasty. He cannot come out all of a sudden to teach us not to vote for dynasty. We will vote for dynasty because that's the pattern he has taught us.
Well, Ken, those are some of the opinions of Kisumu residents here. As you can hear from the background, this is a topic that has caused a lot of excitement here. Of course, as I've mentioned there before, is that the 2022 politics is being followed very keenly down here, being that the opposition leader Raila Odinga, who people suspect has ambitions also for 2022, could be, stresses his roots, political roots, as far as the politics of Kenya is concerned. Of course, this is considered as one of his bedrock in politics. Therefore, these developments that are targeting 2022 are topics that people in Kisumu here have put an eye on, and they really have varied opinions, the way you've just heard from the section of residents we've just spoken to right now here at the Central Square, Oginga Odinga Street in Kisumu. Back to you, Ken.
Right, Okokusa, the politics indeed are shaping up. Thank you very much for that perspective and that gentleman for his analogy of everything that is happening. We're taking a short break right now. It's about 6 minutes past 10. When we come back, I'll continue the discussion here with Gabriel Muduma and Herman Manyora. Remember, we are live from the multi-sectoral initiative against corruption. We are also waiting for the 5-judge bench to rule whether the QC, that's Qureshi, is going to prosecute the DCJ. And Kotu is also coming up at around 10:30 with a press conference. The Kenya National Union of Teachers is rejoining Kotu after about 60 years. And of course, Kotu is back to the NSSF board. And it's not without a deal. We'll tell you about that. But first, let's take a break. We'll be back.
work if people who are mandated to receive those funds put those funds into proper use.
Okay.
But if they don't, then I agree with Prof.
Okay.
It will be a pipe dream.
This is of course is a side discussion. We can't discuss this
True.
today, but we'll have another opportunity.
Right.
As we conclude the issue of Matiang'i, because I want to discuss what he mentioned, the backyard of William Ruto and how unhappy they are. I want to conclude this discussion by asking one question. At the end of the day, the reporting channels from the creation of that committee, he reports direct to the president. All these county commissioners and all report to him, right? At the end of the day, people are saying that he has cut the communication between himself and Ruto. That's the president and Ruto. And so Matiang'i does these things and report directly. But at the end of the day, the president leaves the country, Article 132. What happens? Matiang'i has to report to the principal assistant.
Exactly.
So the principal assistant is still greater,
In fact,
right?
Ken, you've answered that question. And you've answered it very well. I think your background in law is doing you a very good service. Because everything now, you go back directly to report to the principal.
DP.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. By design, by the constitution mandate, that's why it's going to be. What I find a little bit amusing, and I was talking to Prof, we keep insisting there's a wedge between the president and the deputy president. And we can continue with that and make it actually a very big deal. And actually put something that is not, we make it appear as if there's something. In my own understanding, the channels of communication are still very clear.
Okay.
What I believe the president has done is to actually seriously demarcate politicos from technocrats.
Okay.
All right? And for him to realize what he's been, or what he has promised Kenyans, that actually, I wished he had done this, the past time. Yeah, exactly.
But even briefly before you come to me.
No, just go ahead.
Let me
It's your
come to
opportunity.
myself.
Yes.
You see, it is not that Matiang'i would only report to Ruto if the president is out of the country, as is the case today. No. We have a president in this country.
Yes.
Ruto is not a vice president.
He's a deputy.
Ruto is deputy president. There is a president. In fact, unknown to many people perhaps, the office of the deputy president doesn't even have what you call a budget or allocation. They can't even buy a pen with their money. The money is the presidency.
Yes.
They are the one and the same. And the presidency is Ruto and Uhuru. So in reporting to the president, Matiang'i would be reporting to the presidency.
Okay.
With the infrastructure of the presidency.
Right.
You get it?
Yeah.
So it's not that even he will be talking to Uhuru or Ruto. It's the infrastructure of the presidency. And the occupants of that presidency are Ruto and Uhuru. So there's no way people are saying that now Matiang'i is reporting to Uhuru, and that means you are sidelining DP Ruto. There's nothing.
Because that was my next question, Prof. Yes. Has Ruto been sidelined? Looking at it, forget about the structure, forget about the constitution. Yes. Look at it, a normal eye. Has it been sidelined?
You see, I say there's plain reading, and then there is common sense reading and the politics of it. Plain reading, no, he has not been sidelined. He's still the deputy president.
Okay.
We don't have a situation like the one we have in Malawi, where the president and his vice president have parted ways, and the guy is still in office, only drawing a salary and nothing else. You get it? We don't have that situation. Ruto is still the deputy president. He's still in office, and we see him working, and they are meeting with the president. They had lunch yesterday. So they are still the same people. But if you look at it using another lens and using common sense, then you see really from the time of the handshake.
Yes.
Ruto is increasingly being sidelined and edged out.
Okay.
Increasingly. And my reading is, it will not be long before we get to know what was in the handshake.
Okay.
Sooner than later, Ruto will be told, angalia kijana, hii mambo ni ngumu kidogo. You are still a good man. You are my friend, I still promise to support you. But for 2022, in the interest of this country, and for generations to come, let us support somebody else. But you'll be there. That's why we want to enlarge the executive. Tukupatie kitu kidogo hapo, kitu ya muhimu. As you mark time for 2027 and 2032.
You see, we have to wait for this, the BBI, the Building Bridges Initiative report to come out. And I think, it will actually set this country probably on the course that Prof is talking about. But one thing I'll agree with Prof, yes, you can decide to look at the way things are using two lenses. One is the factual lens of what is, stately put in, through our constitution, that the vice president will always remain, the principal assistant to the president. And if we read it from that script, then I think everything is moving on and they are agreeing this is where we still want to go. You can also decide to look at this, which probably, yes, I'll agree with Prof. Again, it is very hard for me and you, Ken, to divorce the two. Development and succession politics. It is very hard to divorce those two. So where does succession politics play in? And I believe the president is afraid of that. And that's why probably he's been keeping away from succession politics. Not that he did not promise, not that he has not said it before, where he said, what, come that time when it comes, pia sisi tuna mpango yetu. And when he says sisi tuna mpango yetu, he means Jubilee has, their own plan. So if you're talking about Jubilee, then you cannot again discount the deputy president as being a very integral part, if I may add, of that Jubilee coalition. So yes, to the divergent view that, people may start reading much into it, mainly they'll read it because of succession politics. And by the way, and hopefully we don't get there, Ken. If we start it now, I am just sorry, and I know Prof will agree with me 100%, it will override a lot of development. If we start succession politics right now, it will override a lot of development. And I believe that's probably why the president is afraid of it.
Okay. And yesterday, the two gentlemen had lunch. Yes. The DP flew all the way to Mombasa. They met at a restaurant, not even State House. Yeah. They met at a restaurant, had lunch. It was a closed-door meeting. Yeah. And among the agendas that they discussed, they say they discussed about the legislative agenda when Parliament reopens. But the elephant in the room was not touched, right? And that's the reason why a hurriedly convened press conference yesterday was cancelled last minute. Yeah. The DP's office is mum. There was nothing forthcoming from that meeting that is worth writing home about, And now we hear this protest in the DP's backyard.
Can I tell you, I know Prof will have a very good probably insight on that one. But honestly, I am tired every time of the president and the deputy coming to tell people that tuko pamoja bado. It's now sounding like a broken record. And you know what? It is actually the Mwananchi or the waging factions that are pushing them towards that direction. In fact, if I was the president, I would never utter it again. You go thinking what you want to think. I have a task at hand.
Perception is very important.
As much as it
is very important.
Ken, every time you stand in front of a microphone, that's the first thing you start. Oh, but me and my deputy president, we are still together. There's a mandate. You people need to accomplish something. That is your scorecard. That's where we are going to judge you on.
It's called assurance.
You see, the issue again is how politicized we've become. We have to read everything through a political lens. We have so many issues, Ken, in this country today. We have issues in our health sector, like Prof said. We have issues in our agriculture sector. Uganda is catching up with us. Ethiopia has already overtaken us. Rwanda is coming to catch up with us. We have serious issues. We cannot be, every time our leaders speak, we have to expect them to say, hey, you people, are you still fighting or you're still together? Rubbish.
Perception is important, Prof. Perception is important.
But you see, I have said this. Sometimes people don't want to listen when we speak. I've told you this is soon coming to an end. How? When Raila joins government, which is sooner than you may think.
By the end of the year.
That perhaps now more than anything else
is certain.
Will confirm that the handshake was about something else that may not be very sweet to Ruto. And finally, you have mentioned the BBI, the Bridges team. When they hand in their so-called report, because they have no report to hand, they have a brief. When they now hand in their report, that will now form the excuse Raila and Uhuru need to say what they would want to say to Kenyans, it will now be clear what is going on. And finally, it will be the referendum, and it will be back in 1966, and the choice to Ruto will be clear.
Exactly.
Do you remain in this arrangement? Yeah. And if you remain in this arrangement with all this undermining, how are you going to play it? Okay, you can remain and be like in a marriage that has a problem, but you stay for the children and so on and so forth. But you can also exit.
Okay.
And this is going to take place this year.
Yeah, because
this is our 1966.
But 1966, don't forget, Prof, was 2 years coming. It began in 1964.
Yes.
That would.
Yes.
So it was 2 years coming.
Yes.
So your driving is really fast.
No, but you see, this is a digital age. Things move a little faster.
Let me advise somebody politically.
Yes.
If I was Prof and Prof was probably in the situation that the leadership is currently, my advice to him would be, one, first of all, don't rush it, like you just told him. One, first of all, ensure that you've done your boundaries review. Secondly, do your census. Those are the most important things.
Which is August.
Exactly. Let those things pass. And you know, when you're talking about those two things, you know, they require some serious budget for them to go through.
In an African country. You don't need money for census. You don't even need to do. You don't need to do primitive census. 18.5 billion.
I understand. I would understand where it's coming from.
That man is a lot.
Yeah.
And I agree.
Not even a lot. Why are we doing census that yet every year we record births and deaths,
because we are doing, we do not.
Why do we need census?
Because it's a systemic problem. We have not set up infrastructure.
That's why he said an African country.
We have not set up infrastructure. And this is now where it opens up the room for the names, you know, the technology that the president was talking about.
Don't mention that animal.
If we captured this thing,
let me tell you something.
A long time ago.
Let me tell you something.
Because
quickly.
I agree, we are in a digital age.
Let me tell you something quickly. Apart from Nairobi County, all counties in this country, you can get the population of Kenyans very easily through the provincial administration. They know, they will tell you almost to perfection, which National Bureau of Statistics cannot give you. One. So you'll only need to look at how do we know how many people are in Nairobi. Secondly, the information you seek to find out, other than the number of Kenyans, the demographic information you seek, National Bureau of Statistics already has that information. So, man, as a poor country, we are doing exactly what poor people are known for, namely wastage.
Wastage. No, it's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
No.
Census in the 21st century.
The kind of money that they're talking about, I was like, hey, that's too much. And you know, the fact that we are suffering is because, again, Ken and Prof, you know, these are the facts. We have not implemented or put up proper governing infrastructure for us to be able to know this. Ken, you've actually alluded to something very important. In very developed jurisdictions, it's a very simple thing. You have your mortality and your mortality rate. You know how many people are coming or are being born into a particular area or a particular nation, and you know how many people have died. So it is actually a matter of adding and minusing.
I fumbled on some information, or I got to know there's some information, and I was shocked. There is an agency somewhere that has more information on you than you yourself have.
You mean NIS?
Not NIS.
A different one.
Let me tell you. How are political parties like Jubilee able to directly register everybody? How do they get information of people? There is an agency here that knows your ID, which is of course obvious, your telephone number, they know
house number, plot number.
So look here, which is a good thing. Which is a good thing even for security.
Yes.
But then why would we proceed? I looked at the director of National Bureau of Statistics, looking Kenyans in the eye and trying to justify use of 18.5 billion. I say, oh God, please come to our rescue. Because our leaders will never rescue us. How can you waste such money to do a simple exercise? And I'm sure even the universities have this information they are looking for. National Bureau of Statistics and universities and other research institutes, including American CIA, and they have all this information.
You know, I think where Prof is saying, there are so many departments and each person has their own small technology where they put funding. We have never come up with a national database, and I think that is what is needed. A national database that captures you when you're born and goes all the way with you.
I think it's there, but it's not synchronized.
It is there, and it is digital. All you need is to sync it.
Sync it, yes. Sync it.
Do you need 18 billion to do that?
You don't need 18 billion.
And once you get this, I think sieve it on all other departments. Yes, I know people are already starting to talk about, oh, how secure will that be, you know, but probably we can deal with that.
It has failed elsewhere. It raised issues in the UK.
No. It is because of access. You know, there's one thing, Prof, to have a technology, and then there's another issue of access. Even in the US, I mean, people still have an issue. Who is accessing my information? Who is accessing my information? And probably we'll raise those issues when we get there. Okay. But we cannot start raising those issues now when we don't have it. First of all, let's build that infrastructure. Again, we are being forced by the world inclusion to have digital passports.
Don't call it wide inclusion. We are doing this thing. We are doing this thing at great cost because of Americans.
It is where the world is going.
We as a country spend so much money for the transgressions of America.
It's not the transgression, it's where the world is going. We got up and we had said we will not match with the ITU orders, that's International Telecommunications Union, when they said we needed to come up to the digital.
We did it 2 years earlier.
Yeah, exactly.
Gentlemen, we have really gone out of time and we have a few minutes.
Prof cannot say he's not going to get that passport because
we will.
No, we have to get it.
We will. Okay? We have no choice.
And you see, had we implemented these structures, everybody now is crying. Now you're telling us, increase the time. The procrastinating Kenyan will still wait here and will we still wait?
No, we are.
Or in fact, when he's traveling to China, that's when he will go.
Look for someone he can bribe.
These are the people, Ken. These are the people.
With 2,000 shillings to fast track his passport. Gentlemen, we are out of time, but you went out of tangent.
Yes. Please,
just come back and talk to me about the backyard. The backyard of Ruto. What's happening now?
Look here. There is concern in Rift Valley or Ruto's backyard, which goes beyond Rift Valley, by the way. There is in fact a concern in central Kenya that it appears Uhuru might be ready to betray Ruto. There is concern. I have I have relatives in central province. One of them is this man. It is true. So there are concerns in Ruto's camp that there are attempts to sideline him. And every passing day or month or week confirms the fears, the latest being the Matiang'i appointment. So they are justified to be concerned. However, I would advise them that do not behave the way you behaved immediately after the handshake. As a supporter of Ruto, take your time. Take your time. Give your opponent or your enemy, now that these guys are turning into your enemies, give them time to move and make blunders. So that if Ruto were to decide that he has had enough of this relationship with Uhuru, it should be at a time he has sufficient ground to sell that to Kenyans. But if you start now, you'll be lost in the mix. So the Senator Fernando is my friend, Murukumen and the rest of these people do exactly what Duale has decided to do.
Keep quiet. The guy has gone silent.
And on this one, let me be honest, and on this one I think Duale is very wise. The noise notwithstanding, I think why DP's backyard and many other people who actually like and support the deputy president, why they could be, up in armies, not because of so many things, but because of one thing, the promise. And that promise is not the deputy president who made it. That promise was made by His Excellency the President.
And it's on record.
And it's on record. So everybody is like, will he negate that promise? To be honest, Ken, the president has not negated on that promise. But we as Kenyans, we have made it for him to keep repeating himself. It is wrong for what we are doing.
Can I ask you a question on what you're saying? Yeah. When the president said, my choice for 2022 will surprise you. I mean, it's so easy to say, like he said it once. Nikimaliza yangu 10, alafu Ruto pia anakuja hapa anamaliza yake 10. It was so easy. And so when he says, my choice for 2022 will surprise you.
Can I tell you something else? Using the same breath, can I tell you something else? Yes. He also said, pia sisi tuna mpango yetu. Now, there are two things that have come out of the four. And that's why I said they are concerned about that promise. Is it still there? But one thing you have to give to the deputy president is that he has actually followed his boss to the max where he's telling people, mimi ni mtu ya mukono. And he, in so many occasions, which are political rallies, and the political undertones notwithstanding, he has said, hey, misi mujinga mina fuata huyu. The way, najipanga nyuma yake. He's made it very clear in that he knows if he is ever to succeed, Uhuru, it is how he'll play his cards.
But look in
so
that,
his people are asking.
Look in this glass.
Yeah.
This is the handshake glass.
So his people.
Look inside.
What
do you see?
Wait, I'm coming to that. So his people, the people who are supporting the deputy president are just concerned. Is that promise still valid?
Okay.
And the person who knows that, as we come in the near future, is the president.
Have you ever thought,
now come in the handshake.
Have you ever thought that the president could support Ruto? Yes, with his vote.
Of course, he's always said that.
I was with Governor Kambogo, first governor of Kiambu County here.
He's always
he told
said
me
that.
The president will support Ruto, but with his vote, he doesn't have a community behind him.
Exactly.
He will vote per person.
He's always said that. But when it comes to him now, bandwagoning every other vote, that is now where I think the rubber will meet the road.
Okay.
Now enters the handshake. I believe, and in my own opinion, the handshake actually creates a better position, Ken, for the presidency to prove themselves. If I was in Ruto's backyard, I would tell him, never, and his people, never fight the handshake. Because it has offered for you a platform to deliver. I mean, they were in Nyanza, an area which was very hostile for them. It has given you a showcase that you can go to Nyanza people and say, albeit the fact that we had issues in 2017, we are able, this is what we've been able to deliver.
Let me say something quickly.
Yes.
Before I said, let me respond to the idea that Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, the Jomo Kenyatta, has one vote. Nothing could be further from the truth.
Like that.
What do you mean? Uhuru is a Kenyatta. Uhuru is an institution. He was able to shake the head. Even his lawyers say, a man whose father's head is on the portrait of the currents of the country.
He rallied African leaders
My
against
friend,
the Hague.
Uhuru is an institution. He's a Kenyatta. So to say Uhuru has one vote, that is a big joke, actually. It is so naive.
That's what Kabogo said here on Sunday.
That is a joke. And Kabogo knows it to be true. Uhuru, one vote? You are joking. Second, now to the handshake. And this will define everything and will finish the story. After that, I don't want to say anything.
No, you will say something.
In the handshake,
yes,
there is a deal.
Okay.
Now, a plain reading of that handshake is that Uhuru, in trying to end the problems of this country with Raila Odinga, has decided, for the lack of a better word, to leave Ruto aside and back somebody. That somebody is most likely Raila Odinga, if you look at it in terms of the politics of betrayal and so on and so forth. So either the president is so smart, he's playing Raila with Ruto's full knowledge.
What does that say of Raila?
It is, no, I'm just saying this, it is just either of the two. One, that the president is playing games with Raila.
Okay.
And Ruto is quite aware of what's going on. And they are just bidding time.
Okay.
Then once Raila has been tossed, then Ruto will walk to State House. Or, and that's another option or interpretation, is that Uhuru has decided to support somebody else in that handshake other than Ruto.
Okay.
There is no
Two ways
third
about
option.
it. 2 ways about it.
Now, once you know that, you can talk about anything else.
Okay, gentlemen, I see Kotu is ready. We are going to cross over to Kotu in a moment. But before I let you go, I want to bring, I think we are done with this discussion.
Right.
Let me just throw some spanner into the works. Yesterday, Nairobi Governor Mike Mbuvi Sonko said something profound about what you're talking about. He said he'll only support the referendum if his boss is guaranteed a position, either of a prime minister or we extend his term. He said something also again profound, and when he speaks, you don't see Sonko speaking. You see other people speaking behind Sonko. And then he said something else about the handshake. He supports them, and he kept mentioning them. Now, the fact that Sonko is saying that Uhuru is too young to go home, what does that bring to your mind as we close?
It's a trolley who is about to speak now who started this.
Yes.
And Sonko put it yesterday, clearly, and I think I agree with Sonko. There is going to be a handshake team in 2022.
Handshake line.
The presidency and all these positions will be shared in a boardroom. So 2022, there's no election. It will be a formality. And that's what Sonko is saying. And that also means Uhuru is unlikely to go anywhere. He will be there. Watch out a minute.
Do you also believe when Sonko speaks, he's speaking the mind of several
He cannot have that was not him speaking.
That was not him
At least he knows the reality.
Yeah.
He need not have been sent by anybody. But Sonko would appear to me to know the reality in the country today is that the people, he kept mentioning them. The five or so, Mudavadi, Kalonzo, Wetangula, Raila. And, you know, he was almost cornered. He was almost cornered into saying he would support Raila or Raila would be the president. He knows in the handshake glass there was a deal, and other people are now being roped in. All of them are there. The last person to enter would be William Samoei, and the late Kijana Omala would say Toshagari.
You know, very quickly, you know, I agree. It started with Atwoli, but I wasn't shocked when Atwoli said that, you know, because Atwoli has kept, you know, insisting, we're still young. What shocked me was actually Governor Anyang' Nyong'o when he said that.
He also said it.
Anyang' Nyong'o said it.
When? In Kisumu?
In Kisumu.
Okay.
He said, you know,
I didn't get that.
We need to work out something for the president. He's actually alluded to the very same thing.
And there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, that really kind of shocked me. So the one thing I'll agree politically, you know, and, you know, talking freely, throwing the spanner into the works, there could be. And you can start right now you can start seeing the formation. And, you know, I like Prof, you know, Prof sees further than I do, you know, given the fact that, he sees further than I do. You can start seeing the formation of what you are calling the Super Five. So it's already started to take shape politically. Will that continue? Remember, politics, you get to a point where everybody is karangaing everybody. But this was the agreement. I mean, how many MOUs have you seen? You know, they agreed.
That was before we put
exactly. And then when they come and say, this is what we had agreed, you are going to support me, but now, you know. But that formation that Sonko was talking about, you can actually see it from afar. Is it something that we will come to be realized? On that one, Ken, I think those are things that we say we just have to wait and see.
Okay. 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 I'm told we can have another question. Atwoli is not ready, so we can have a supplementary question. I know you need to leave, but in President,
where I still think, Ken, we need to go very quickly is this issue of the handshake. Prof, if I was advising Kenyans, I'd say let's give it time. Let BBI do their work. Let them do their multi-stakeholding, whatever it is, because there's one thing that I see. And if you look at the body language of both the president and the former prime minister and the deputy president William Ruto, they seem to agree on one thing: we cannot be fighting after every 5 years. And Kenyans are actually supporting him on that. Me being one of them. We must find a mechanism, whether it's the blueprint that Johannes and Kriegler talked about, Prof. Yes. We must come and agree on one thing. This is what Kenya must not be after every 5 years. So whatever plans are going to be in the works, I think we just need to wait and see what the handshake and the BBI will produce.
Okay. A clever politician right now, what does he do? There are several factions.
Yes.
What does he do? A clever politician.
Among the top 5.
Yes. What do you do? Even the ones who are coming up. Do you align yourself? Do you wait on the sidelines? Do you keep quiet? Do you participate? Do you become vocal? What does a clever politician do?
I thought once there come a time when the nation is more important than an individual. There's something else in life, and especially in politics. If you are intelligent, the test of that intelligence in that context is knowing, as my friend Habwe tells me all the time, is in knowing what is possible and what's not possible. What you can do and what you cannot do. What you can try and what you can straight away do. And the challenges you will face in facing a problem. And that explains that lack of that intelligence, Ken, explains why people stand and they get 10 votes. Lack of that intelligence test. So to answer your question, it will depend on whether those politicians are intelligent or foolish people. If you are an intelligent politician in Kenya today, you will know the handshake is a big thing.
Okay. I'm told we have to go. You have 30 seconds?
Yeah, very quickly. That one I'll agree with Prof 110%. They say a clever politicians, you just look at the surrounding and how the times are being, affected. The former governor of Bomet, Isaac Ruto, he was a very good guy, but he failed to read the times and where the political wind was blowing, and that's why he was actually stepped up. So a good politician, you really need to, where is the political wind blowing, and then you just wait and see. It's just like a lion. It takes
the right time to pounce.
And who to pounce.
Great. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Herman Manyora, and thank you, Gabriel Muduma, for sharing you. Always a pleasure having you on my show. Looking forward to another one. And of course, as we said, we have a bench of 5 judges set to rule on whether the QC should be prosecuting DCJ Philomena Mwilu. The multi-sectoral initiative against corruption is also up at Bomas. We'll take that. But first, let's go to Kotu, where we have several activities, including NAT rejoining Kotu and the Kotu board back to the National Security Social Fund.
Thank you so much, the Master of Ceremony, my brother and colleague, a gentleman I respect so much, Brother Benson Okwaro, the General Chairman of Kotu, my mzee, Brother Rajab Mondi, the Secretary General of Kotu, Dr. Francis Atwoli mzee wetu, and the entire leadership of Kotu, the leadership of NAT, my brother and colleague, the Secretary General Honorable Wilson Sossion, the National Treasurer, Brother John Omambia Matiangi, and the members of steering who are here from Kenya National Union of Teachers, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Today is really a historic day in the calendar of our union. It's a momentous moment when brothers and sisters of the working fraternity of this